Hello, everybody. Today's review is going to be of Pushpa The Rise Part 1. So, actually, Part 2 is now on Netflix. So, I actually just looked it up, happened to look it up the other day, and I was like, oh my god, Part 2 finally is on Netflix, so I can go back and watch the first one and review it, and then do the second one. And I believe the third one is in the works. So, but these films have been really good as far as that goes. So, we'll go over the cast list first. Uh, as I always do. So I gave this movie a 9 out of 10. I thought it was very deserving. I thought the story was good. The first time, maybe I wasn't really following it that well, but yeah, I got lost at one point. But yeah, watching it again actually made me kind of realize that the story wasn't really that hard to follow. So maybe I just wasn't as engaged as I should have been in the film the first time I watched it. I don't really know, but yeah, um, it was actually easier to follow the second time. So maybe I was just missing some points that I just kind of my brain just kind of combed over completely. I'm not really sure, but anyway, we had Alu Arjun who played Push Barrage, uh, Fada Fasil who played uh, Manwar Singh Sekawat. I want to say is how you pronounce that. So forgive me if I'm butchering some of these names again, but where was I? Yes. Rasmika Mandana, who played Sirvali, who was Pushpa's love interest in the movie. Sunil, who played Megalam Sin, Sinru. I feel like I'm saying that wrong, but and then Aja Ghosh, who played Kona Konda Reddy. Oh my god. Uh, is that a P or it's either Panajana or Donajana who played Jolly Reddy? It's one of those two. I can't tell if that's a P or a D. That's just my sloppy writing there. Uh, and then Shatru who played DSG Jovandapa, and then Shanmuk who played Jaka Reddy. Now I feel like I'm missing a couple people. Um, but I couldn't find them in the cast list, or maybe I just looked over them completely. But yeah, I feel like I'm missing a couple people, but it is what it is. Sometimes I just forget the names or just can't find the names, and sometimes I go and look them up, but this time I just did not do that. I did not Google search the names this time around. Oh, sorry, I forgot to put a line in between the last show I reviewed and this movie. So yeah, 9 out of 10 for this movie again, even though I didn't write it down. So this is, now you would think this would kind of be like a boring story, seeing as it's kind of like, about the illegal trade of wood, basically. But we actually start out in, I think it was somewhere in China. Basically, they're telling the story backwards about how this guitar is made and where it comes from. Now, the wood does not come from China, actually. So it is. So the wood is transported from the Madras to China, and it is red sandalwood, which is found in the Shashalam forest, and it is illegal to actually cut down the trees and sell it, like transport it, do whatever, right? Like it's an illegal trade. Um, so we have our character Pushpa, like our main character, who has had a pretty hard life, I guess. Like he's kind of, I guess you could call him like the lower class, right? So he obviously wants to move up the ranks. Now we do get a lot of flashbacks into his childhood, like as to the fact that he has no surname. He doesn't really know his. I guess he doesn't know his real father. Now there was one point in the movie where his stepbrother said that it was his father that had an affair with his mother. So I'm not really sure exactly. Like, does he find out like that his father was um the other guy's dad? Yeah. See, and then but then it goes back to him saying that he doesn't really truly know. But then he talks about his father again at one point, giving him like a locket with a picture of him and um, with like Pushpa and his father together. So I'm not really sure exactly who his father was. That was the only confusing part of the story to me, that maybe I just missed something there. But um, yeah, I feel like maybe that the stepbrother was trying to make it seem like he was born that way, but it was just trying to make him angry, right, with his own mother. So I'm not, I guess maybe he lost his father, right? Is maybe the thing, where his father left when he was young, so he never really met him. I'm not really sure. They didn't really touch much more on the story than that. So like that part of the story than that. But I guess that was it really wasn't the main focus of the movie, other than kind of building his character to show you that he would stop at nothing in order to like have his rise, right? Essentially. So Push believes his, I guess, basically dead end like warehouse job type thing, to join in the cutting of the sandalwood for more money, because it's going to pay a lot more than any legal job would, right? So he goes out and kind of slowly like takes over the operation. So that I don't think there really was any like true leader of the operation before that. So he kind of like slowly takes over and finds a way to like hide the wood, cleverly actually, by like tying the vines to it and hanging it up in the trees, so that when the cops show up to kind of like shut down the operation, there is no supply there for them to find, right? So they can't actually take anybody into custody because there's nothing there for them to see, right? Which is kind of cool. Just the creative ways that he was able to find in order to keep the operation going. Obviously, because he wanted to make his like rise to power, right? So this was Task Force GSP Govind who shows up, and I guess he was supposed to be like a nightmare, obviously, for like the trade of the redwood, right, or the sandalwood. Sorry, my bad. So he shows up to shut them down, right from the very beginning. And so that was just before we find out that Pushpa, or Pushpa Raj, does not have a surname, or does not know his surname or his father. So that was what I got basically. So I think the other guy was trying to make him jealous later on in the movie, when he was trying to make a claim for marrying uh, for marrying. Oh God, what was her name? Uh, Servali. He was trying to make a claim, and then of course, obviously, the other guy is going to try to make up some sort of story, right, as to why he shouldn't, or why he should or shouldn't have any claim to marriage, right? So then we meet the Konda brother, or the Konda Reddy brothers. I guess that's basically like the elder brother was Konda Reddy, right? So they kind of just called them the Konda Reddy brothers. So we had Jolly Reddy and then Jocka Reddy, and they were all in the business of the smuggling, right, of the sandalwood. But they were kind of like I guess they were kind of like the workers in a sense. Um, so they kind of worked for this other guy, who was part of like the smuggling syndicate. So Pushpa comes up with this plan to smuggle all of the sandalwood in milk trucks. So what they did was really cool. So they hollowed out the bottom of the milk truck, and then they would put like a sheet of metal down, and first they would throw like all the chunks of sandalwood into the hollowed out part, and then they would weld a piece of metal to the top, and then they would fill the top half of the tank with milk, so that it would just make it look like they were transporting milk all the time. So of course, and then they would give the cops like their treats or whatever, so that there was nothing to be expected. Now they did transport it in other ways too, like on like a party bus type of thing, I guess. They transported it with a bunch of people sitting on top of the sandalwood, and they even transported it in like ambulances and stuff too. So there was a whole bunch of ways they were making it through the checkpoints in order to transport the sandalwood. So it was kind of funny, but eventually they do get caught. Govind is smart enough to finally realize that the top, he can hear the milk, but in the bottom he hears that it's like hollowed out for the wood. And now, of course, these two guys basically give up the operation, so they weren't treated very nicely after that. Let's just say that much. And then, of course, it was it yeah, it was Jolly that ends up basically because Servali's dad was one of the ones that gave them up. So he pretty much holds him prisoner and then tells Servali that she has to be with him, right? And I guess he was kind of a bit of a player, so uh, let's just say that he was more focused on the women than the actual job part of it. And the other two brothers were definitely more focused on the job and kind of making their rise to power as well. But yeah, that whole thing goes down with that. And of course, so that this was just after they had given them up. Pushpa has to basically get rid of the huge supply of sandalwood that the brother failed to ship out, and they have to push it down the river and then stop the dam from shut down the dam before all of their whole supply goes over, and they lose all of that money because it's a huge amount of money. So it was Mangle Srinu, I guess would be how you would pronounce, not Sinru. Sorry, I butchered that at the beginning. So he was the boss of the smuggling syndicate, and he was in control of navigation through the Channy port. So there was 15 checkpoints, I guess. So he was kind of the one that would control all of that. So I believe that was the checkpoints they were already going through, and of course, Konda tells Srinu about their plan, and then Srinu is going behind Konda's back and making more money off of somebody else with the sell of the sandalwood. So there's a lot of double crossing going on here. So then, of course, Konda sends Pushpa to confront Srinu about it, and of course he asks for more money and threatens to only sell to Mugaran, who was the other guy, who was the big player in the sandalwood distribution. So, of course, and then Jolly has the whole thing with Servali, and so Pushpa fights Jolly after Servali confesses her love finally. So he was kind of hoping that he would get noticed by her as he was kind of like slowly rising to power. But she wasn't really paying attention to him, even though she had noticed that he was kind of like following her and trying to get attention from her, obviously. So she confesses her love finally, even though after his friend had paid like 1,000 rupees in order to get her to even pay attention to him. So he ends up kind of playing that game. I think he pays like 5,000 more to try to get a kiss and gets nothing out of it. But he was kind of playing into his buddy's game at that point. So that was kind of a goofy thing to do. But yeah, I guess it ended up working out for him because obviously she felt like she was in danger with the other guys, and she I guess had a thing for him right from the beginning, but she was shy about it. So kind of a weird concept there, but for a love story. But anyway, it ended up working out for him because they do end up together and getting married at the end. But yeah, I think there's big things to come in the second movie for Pushpa, unfortunately. So a war breaks out between the smuggling syndicate and the Reddy brothers, and this was after Konda Reddy had found out that Pushpa had a fight with Jolly, and of course he left Jolly in a wheelchair, so Jolly is going to have to slowly find a way in order to get revenge. And in that whole like big battle scene between the two crews, Pushpa ends up killing Srinu's was it brother-in-law, I do believe? Yeah, his wife's brother. Or his wife, yeah, his wife's brother. So, of course, Shade tries to take revenge on him, and he kind of has to sit by at this point because when he goes to when they go back to the place where Servali was in order to like have another marriage proposal thing, I guess. Pushpa is kind of sworn in as a new leader of the smuggling syndicate, so there's nothing Srinu can do at that point. He has to basically kind of like step to the side. So Govind actually steps down after this because he kind of blames himself for letting the murder of Srinu's brother-in-law happen. So SP Banwar Singh Sekawat takes his place, and of course it seems like he's a bit more on the like hard side of things, like a little bit more of a stickler for the rules, and eventually Pushpa kind of like bends to his will. Um, but I think Pushpa did it because he wanted to get closer to him, and then the night of the wedding, Pushpa confronts him about what was it, insulting his mother and saying that Pushpa had no surname. So they're gonna have a big battle between the two of them now because, like Pushpa said, he was a coolie. Now I'm not exactly sure what a coolie is. I'm assuming that means like a lower class citizen because that's that's what he was in the very beginning of the movie before he slowly made his rise. So I'm assuming that what that means, and I'm assuming that's not like it's a derogatory term for a lower class citizen, obviously from the sounds of it. But he's using it to like show his power from where he came now to becoming the syndicate leader, right? So it was like this movie, he did like a whole 360 in this movie and became super powerful, which would be hard for somebody like that to do, but I guess he was determined right from the beginning, right? Like he didn't like his job, so he basically told his boss off, and then he had this opportunity and seized it for sure. And he kind of made sure that he had no friends by the end of it, essentially, except he was still kind of with the Reddy brothers because despite what had happened with Jolly, he still ended up protecting the other brothers in the end of the movie anyway. So I'm thinking they're kind of still on his side, but obviously they're not going to be completely trustworthy of him, obviously, anymore because of what he has done to them. So yeah, I'm not really sure he has too many friends left, but he is going to have to kind of make a new crew, I guess, maybe for the second movie. And obviously now he's in a place of higher power, so I guess he can kind of make the rules at this point. So yeah, interesting to see exactly where the second movie is going to go. But yeah, it was a good movie. Like I really thoroughly enjoyed the storyline, and the action sequences were always great. Even like the small ones where it's just like the car chases or whatever, there were always good action scenes, and a lot of them are quite violent. So yeah, it's definitely my type of movie for sure. But I believe the second one is probably going to be a lot more action because it looks like from the trailer he's potentially in China at this point. So, or at least at some point in the movie he is, because it looks like he's going to be taking over. From what I can see from the trailer for the second movie, it looks like he might be taking over the whole business right from the top all the way down to the bottom, which would be quite the feat to take on after you've already basically taken over the operation from one side, to go over and take over the operation on the other side too. So we'll see where the second film goes. This is just all speculation on my part, but yeah, 9 out of 10 for this movie, and I would actually highly recommend going to watch it. So the first one is on Prime, and the second one is on Netflix. So yeah, and I'm watching them quickly because I know how Netflix works sometimes with how fast they put stuff up and take stuff down. So I wanted to watch it this weekend so I could get through it, and yeah, before it's gone. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next review. Bye bye for now.